What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to Off the Cut Reviews. Yes, better late than never. We're finally going over the top 10 movies of 2019. Yeah, it took me way too long to make this video, but given that all the theaters are shut down right now, we might as well talk about the movies of last year and, have some fun that way. I'd like to preface this by saying these are not what I think are objectively the best movies of last year necessarily. These are just the movies I most enjoyed from last year. Anyway, coming in at number 10 is the Child's Play remake. Now, I know immediately out of the gate to some people this is heresy because they love the originals or whatever. Some of the originals I liked, some of them I didn't. But I think this remake does deserve credit for a couple things. One, Mark Hamill. Two, it's a remake that actually does something original. They did something fresh with it instead of just telling the same damn story over again. It was an exceptionally entertaining movie. I really went in not expecting much, and I was shocked by how much fun I had with it. Coming in at number 9 is Unplanned. Now, I know a lot of people will probably grab their torches and pitchforks immediately over that. And anyone who knows me has probably heard me many a time tangent on how much I hate agenda movies and how much I find movies that pretty much exist to advocate a cause or preach a message or that kind of thing to be usually quite lacking in art. It's like they put the artistry of the filmmaking second and whatever they're trying to sell you first. Unplanned, I find to be one of the exceptions to that general rule. I actually thought this was very well acted, for the most part. Very well made. Yeah, there's a couple people in it whose performances kind of lag, but for the most part, it feels very sincere, and it really does make you think. In the end, though, credit where credit is due, it was really fantastically constructed, and Chris Valentin is one of my favorite people, and I love that he has like a little cameo in there, so major points for that. Coming in at number 8 is Glass. And M. Night Shyamalan has a very hit and miss track record for me. Some of his movies I really don't care for, and then some of them I think are really quite impressive. Glass is a very mixed bag. I have some serious disappointment with some of the choices he made late in the story, but it's extremely entertaining to watch, and it really does pull you in and get you rooting for characters and invested in the story. I don't know, maybe I just like shitty movies. Coming in at number 7, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. I really enjoy the John Wick franchise in its entirety. It's one of the few franchises that's left out there that you can just really get kind of nuts with. It's like just really, really good action. Yeah, it helps that Keanu Reeves is like such a nice guy. It's kind of easy to root for him in anything. But I think these are really fun movies. Keanu Reeves actually knows how to handle himself with a gun, and it shows. This is one of the most convincing, he actually looks like he knows what he's doing, and he actually runs out of ammo and has to change the magazine, and it's just a lot of fun. This is one of those movies that I would pop in on pretty much any occasion that I just want to, turn my brain off and be really entertained for 2 hours. Coming in at number 6 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Yeah, that's right, we're deviating away from bullets and mayhem to something more character-driven and a little bit more like an emotional drama. There are some really powerful moments in here and some really important and moving themes that I think really resonate with any of us. Just as we go through this life, everybody gets weighed down with something. Everybody gets hurt by someone or something. And there's some really moving, very therapeutic moments in this movie that I really hope do have a healing impact on a lot of people who watch it. Sidebar, if you haven't seen the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, definitely go watch that. I feel like that enhances the experience of watching this movie significantly, but even if you don't, it's good on its own merits. Coming in at number 5, Shazam. It's not the most fantastic, memorable comic book film ever made, but it is really entertaining. It's a good time. It's got great action. It's got great humor. There's some emotion in there. You get attached to the characters. This is a fun ride. And that's as close as you're getting to a Superman cameo. Yeah, it's not perfect. That in particular left me extremely disappointed, especially because they didn't even use the right score. But in the end, it's still a really fun movie and surprisingly dark in places. It can be childish and fun and lighthearted one minute, but the 7 deadly sins, these demonic beasties, possessing Dr. Savannah, this is dark heavy stuff. And I thought that it was nice that, we had sort of that dramatic contrast between the good guy and the bad guy. That's something not every comic film or every film in general really ever gives you. Now let's pause for a minute and talk about our video sponsor, water. There is no video sponsor. What are you talking about? Are you stupid? Coming in at number 4, a terrible choice that will further reinforce the idea that I need to be institutionalized immediately. And are you just joining us now? X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, I know it's not really a great movie, but hear me out. It does have some things going for it. Did they manage to fuck up the Dark Phoenix storyline for the second time on film? Yes. But they did manage to do some things right. I thought there were some great character relationships at play. Jean Grey gets some excellent development. It's nice to see Cyclops be more than window dressing, because while he had his moments in the other movies, that's usually what he was. By the way, there are spoilers in this video. There are some moments that feel just unearned. Like, I really don't know anyone who is deeply emotionally impacted by Mystique's death, because at this point in the series, she kind of stopped being likable. She was really likable in First Class. I was still fond of her in Days of Future Past, but around X-Men Apocalypse, I just started wanting her to go away. And I think that's probably more Jennifer Lawrence being unlikable than it is Mystique, but I felt like they put too much focus on her as a character. Getting the cheesy-ass, you should call it X-Women line out of the way, and getting maybe my major gripe with the movie out of the way, which is that Charles Xavier goes from this, like, generally noble, likable guy who sometimes makes bad decisions to being basically a giant jerk for a good hunk of the movie. It feels like a radical shift that, like, nobody asked for, and it doesn't make any sense. They didn't set the stage for that well in the previous movie at all, but the movie does have some really good things going for it. Particularly, I really like the fatherly dynamic between Charles and Jean Grey, and that sense of belonging that she gets from him, and that even at her darkest and most volatile, he still comes to her as a father and really loves and believes in her. If that's not powerful, you're not paying attention. Is it the best X-Men movie? No, it's probably one of the worst. But I really enjoyed it for that reason. Number 3, yet another controversial choice, Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker. It seems like every movie I choose is controversial. Now, I know that the sequel trilogy is like radical highs and lows and really, really, really divisive. And I know this is not a perfect Star Wars movie by any stretch of the imagination. I have some major gripes with it. That said, it is still a lot of fun, and they still got some really important things right. Would my main ask be that I wanted to see the Force Ghosts empowering Rey and that's how she beats Palpatine? Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah, it's implied, but I wanted to see it. Putting that aside for a minute and just focusing on the movie we got, yeah, there's some weak elements, but there's also a lot to enjoy here. And while it doesn't feel like the most cohesive, like, planned out installments, and they spent about half of this movie fixing the mistakes of Episode 8, trying to play cleanup, A for effort. This is still a really fantastic ride, if nothing else. There are some good fight scenes, there's some great surprise cameos, and ultimately, what really sold the movie for me, which is funny because it's one of the things people most complain about on the internet, is the idea of family. This idea that your true family doesn't even have to be somebody you're biologically related to. You might have more of a bond with your best friend or with like a spiritual surrogate mother or father figure than you do with anybody you're biologically related to. So this idea that Rey identifies herself as a Skywalker didn't feel as heretical to me as it apparently did to some of the fan base out there. Coming in at number 2 is Avengers Endgame. Okay, so this is that big built-up to finale everyone and their grandma's dog was waiting for. Does everybody's grandma have a dog? And on some level, this movie really did miss the mark for me. But on most levels, like, fantastic. Maybe not the MCU's best movie, but probably among them for me. It totally gets pretentious and doesn't make sense when it comes to time travel. They get so self-impressed, making up their own rules. They didn't stop to realize some of their rules create massive plot holes. But we're going to put that aside. If I can give Dark Phoenix a pass, I can give Avengers Endgame a pass. Did they screw up Thor? Yeah. Did they screw up Hulk? Oh, absolutely. Did they nail it when it came to like Tony and Cap and some of these other character moments? Yes, I can't imagine a better ending for some of these characters. They did a fantastic job. There's some fantastic performances in there. The whole thing has such an epic scale. It's just a lot of fun to watch. The big climactic send-off. Is it the greatest movie ever? Is it the greatest comic movie ever? No and no. I still think it's pretty great. And to be honest, if you like nothing else about this movie, we have to give it this one thing. You know that you screamed like a little girl the moment that Cap wielded Mjolnir. Like, that was just way too cool. And finally, coming in at number 1, Joker. This is a fantastic, really masterpiece of a movie. I don't use that word lightly, but this is an incredible movie. From the way it's written, to the way it's acted, to the musical score, everything about this movie just syncs up and jives perfectly in such a way that you're haunted by it long after you've left the theater. For the next several days, I just kept turning it over in my mind, thinking about all the fine details, and I really appreciate that this movie attacks some serious topics, and it never feels like it's wagging its finger at the audience, but it really raises some important concepts about people feeling completely isolated or alone or downtrodden by the world around them. There's a lot of profound, like, moments in this movie that just resonate. If you've ever felt alone, or if you've ever struggled or known someone who struggled with their own internal health, there are things here that are going to resonate. And all that weighty stuff aside, this is just a really well-crafted and entertaining, engaging comic book movie. It does take inspiration from several different Joker stories in order to craft like a unique version of him and a unique origin for him. And yeah, it's not the most comic accurate Joker, but since when is comic accuracy the only measure of a good movie? I just want to like rant and rave for the next hour about how great this movie is. I've really been wanting to just pop in the Blu-ray and watch it again because it is really, really, really fantastic. Like, of all the fun movies and all the well-made movies that came out last year, Joker stands head and shoulders above every other movie in the pack. It is that good. That's it for me. Let me know what your top 10 movies of last year were in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all those fun things. And above all, don't forget to go get what you f***ing deserve. And always remember, that's life.